the state of race relations and community relations and attitudes towards certain communities in Trinidad and Tobago. And you know where we're going, the whole Anthony Bourdain parts unknown interview, and specifically referencing the comment from Mario Sabga Aboud and the interview with Peter George and the Syrian Lebanese community and the discussion that would have taken place and the comments that have come out from it. And in response to that, Gary Aboud of Fishermen and Friends of the Sea and someone from the ethnic Syrian Lebanese community in Trinidad and Tobago, born and bred in Trinidad and Tobago, is expressing shock at the hatred that has been expressed on social media. We have him on the line with us. Gary, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Fazir, and to your audience.
Hopefully you're not on the move because you're sounding a little wobbly with the audio, but let's continue our discussion. Hopefully we'll hear you clearly. Why are you shocked by these expressions, as you have described them, of hatred on social media? Why are you shocked by that?
Well, I mean, Fazir, it's not an acceptable behavior. It's not an acceptable way. And this is a country. And all of us have an entitlement here, an equal entitlement to be good citizens and to do the best that we can do to, in every way, aid in our own development and in our country's development. And when there is venomous expressions with prejudgment and blackwashing or skinwashing, or when there's smearing of an entire population of people who might simply share a genetic heritage. I don't speak to people with any ethnic mindset that I will be talking to Fazir, so perhaps I should have a different mindset if I'm talking to another person. I don't interpret life, and the reality is that there was a portrayal, but the portrayal is really and truly at the heart of it a misconception. Because the people who sat on the table, even though they are culpable of a portrayal of a level of arrogance, I know Mario, and Mario is not an arrogant person, and has always been quite a grassroots person. But as I understand it, Mr. Bourdain had asked each of them, what do you have, what do you do? That was the first thing that he asked them, how many businesses you have. So he profiled and recorded and created a story that is in fact not exactly the truth, and as a testimony to that person who he has done so many good things, but a simple misstep, a portrayal of an attitude that is unacceptable, arrogant, and totally out of the way, is so condemned that all of a man's life and all that a man has created and done, which are all good things, are totally thrown away, and all of a sudden there's this sort of national clout. And you may not know it, Fazir, but it's often portrayed on a lot of the blog sites, the political blog sites, and there are often portrayals of things that are shocking, always shocking to me that the moderator would release it. So it is a misstep. A citizen has made a misstep. And we are, in fact, genetically linked to that country, because that is where our lineage is. But we are from here, like you are from here.
But Gary, if I could just interrupt you, and if you would allow me, why are you surprised? Because this is the reason because those, and I am not on social media, so you would be seeing and absorbing these comments and so on, whatever they may be, right? But why are you surprised at this level of vitriol? Because surely, Gary Aboud, you would be aware of what is being said, what has been said, what has often been said, often without justification. People say that they have justification and so on. Is it a case of envy? Is it a case of justifiable outrage? Surely you can't be surprised. It's only just now it is mushroomed because of this thing called social media.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. I should be wiser about it. But every time I hear the word Auschwitz, I get the same revolting feeling every time in my life, because it summons a type of behavior that creates evil and creates the worst of what we can bring out in each other. And we have to face up, all of us, and the good amongst us who see clearly are not nearly as outspoken as they ought to be. And that is why I took this interview, because there's a silence amongst those who know good, and they allow and condone and listen and permit expressions of the worst without condemnation, without revulsion. And the roots of these things only lead us into unfertile soil. So there are no blessings that come out of hate. So in the same way that I would be revolted if someone said something condemnatory of a child or children or abused elderly people, these are all very real issues, and each time they occur, the societal condemnation must be maximized. Otherwise, we become uncivilized and anarchic, and we retreat. In 1990, after the coup, I don't know where you were, but I lived in and through the coup, and the same sort of vitriol came out in people's faces. It's undescribable what I felt as a person with a genetic lineage to a place that I've never been to and that I hope in my lifetime I will go to. But this is a very painful and revolting and shocking conduct. And I feel that in the same way that I feel revolted, I feel that it is the civil duty of the good people in our society to feel revolted and respond. Because at the end of every religion's scope is the battle between good and evil. And this is one that I would rise up if there were discriminatory comments made by any group about any other group. It is simply wrong and cannot be condoned. And that's why I feel that it's good to say that publicly.
And Gary Aboud, just and there are many facets to this, and your letter that is now being made public and so on. I'm sure there'll be even more reaction to this entire situation. It appears to have blown out of all proportion. There are editorials about it and so on. But let's get to the source of this particular situation. How do you respond to the assertion that it's because the successful business community of Syrian Lebanese ancestry has operated essentially as a closed shop without making itself open and accessible to local media to at least be seen as like anybody else, open to interviews and investigations and discussions and dialogue. And it took Anthony Bourdain, a foreigner from CNN, to get into the inner workings of the family organization, and that's why the statement about the cat come out of the bag and so on, that apart from the hatred and the vitriol and the bigotry and all else, there's also that feeling that it take a foreigner to give us the real story of what's going on in the successful element of the Syrian Lebanese business community.
Well, I mean, it's a difficult subject and a difficult question. The way I see it is that the things that were said, I wonder about the truth of it. He said that he owns 123 restaurants and that he's the Starbucks of the Caribbean. In truth and in fact, it is true. He has built it from nothing. He started on Frederick Street in a rented premise, and he started, I think, at 26, 28 years old. I take my hat off to him. But it's nothing. The realities of the middle class being threatened by what I would call maladministration, the poor investment of revenues and the poor negotiation of what the revenue should be. Because we suffer from that reality of corrupt politicians for decades after decades, that reality has put pressure on our society. But I cannot blame the entrepreneurs and the successful people for putting pressure on the society. I don't think they are to blame. And I feel I'm a small entrepreneur as well, and I feel I provide opportunity and contribute. I pay my taxes, and I pay a lot of taxes and a lot of duties, and I do my part. So when there's this suspicion that something new was revealed, what Peter George said is true. It's true. Our society is going through a serious adjustment, and many people are being affected. And those who have, it's a reality. This is a reality. We can't shy away from it. Our currency is under threat. It's devaluing. We've devalued 6 or 8 or 10% in the past year or two. It's a reality. The black market story, if shortage of, there's pressure on the society, but how could there possibly be a link between a successful entrepreneur that probably employs more than 1,000 people, pays his taxes, he is making a real contribution, and over and above everything that was said, nothing was new. Nothing was a secret. Everybody knows he owns a restaurant. Everybody knows there's a thing. Everybody knows that there are cliques within cliques. There are groups that are more exclusive than other groups. And this occurs across the society. In the Indo, Anglo, every population has its clique based on class, based on professionalism, social standing. That is not an unusual or typical characteristics of
Gary,
one
sorry to cut across you, but we have to leave it there for the moment. Unfortunately, time has run out, but this is a sort of situation, a sort of topic that needs more time and availability and accessibility to discuss. Hopefully, there might be another opportunity where we could properly sit down and discuss this, because sadly, when it comes to issues of race and ethnicity and privilege or perceived privilege in a place like Trinidad and Tobago, and especially now with social media, you get things coming out that makes it difficult in a few minutes to properly discuss. But the letter is out there. Gary Aboud sent out this letter through social media and through everywhere, so people can have a look at his own perspective on this situation. But no doubt people will have their own opinions and stick to it no matter what. Some might be persuaded otherwise, some might be reinforced in what they have to believe. At the end of the day, does it make any difference as far as a proper social dialogue, if there is anything like a proper social dialogue in a place like Trinidad and Tobago? We'll be back right after this, focusing on what's happening in the southeast of Trinidad in the aftermath of the passage of Tropical Storm